Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Up until the past 2 weeks or so, maybe less, most Americans had never heard of Kazakhstan. Now, in the past couple of weeks, there has been an uprising that has been happening in Kazakhstan. This started off as a peaceful protest by a lot of people that was based on the increased price of liquefied natural gas, which is widely used in Kazakhstan not only for power and heating, but also for transportation. You'd think such as, propane-powered vehicles and things like this. These protests were infiltrated by what can only be called terrorists. It went from peaceful protests to the burning of the invasion and burning of government buildings, Molotov cocktails, the burning of government buildings. The number of police have been killed, and one was even decapitated. As a result of this, the president of Kazakhstan issued the authorization by police of lethal force. I find this reasonable under the circumstances. This wasn't, you think about what happened last year in January and compare this, because there were no government buildings in our country that were burned down. No police were decapitated. This was a rising and increasing rate of violence. Anyway, things have calmed down there at this point. The violence kept on escalating even after the president had put a cap on the price of liquefied natural gas, LNG, which that was the reason for the protest. And yet the violence kept on continuing. The original peaceful protesters took a step back, but the violent protesters were escalating. Anyway, things have calmed down there, and there is a reason that things have calmed down there. All right, so sorry, I had to add in a little image that I'm about to bring up here. So let me bring that up. Here we go. All right, so here is Kazakhstan. Right here. Okay, so here's Kazakhstan. Now, the U.S. government has been raging against this, and part of these protests were an attempt to overthrow the government, of course. Why is the U.S. government getting involved in this? Well, you take a look at where Kazakhstan is. Down here, on the eastern side, Kazakhstan borders China. Right up here, Kazakhstan borders Russia. All the way around here, all the way to Georgia. Here's Georgia, all right, right here, you've got, the Russia that goes all the way around here. So why would our government be interested? Well, look at what we're doing with Ukraine over right here. So you got Georgia, which is adversarial to Russia. You got Ukraine, adversarial to Russia. So if they manage to install a government which is adversarial to Russia in Kazakhstan, then all the way across here, you would have Ukraine, Georgia, and Kazakhstan all adversarial to Russia. And by the way, look at the size of Kazakhstan. It's not some small country. Look at Kazakhstan next to China. It's almost as big as China. It's bigger than Mongolia. All right, so what happened to calm this down? Well, there was a joint agreement between Kazakhstan and several other countries, which was, this agreement was made in 1992. And by the way, Ukraine used to be a part of this joint security agreement until 2014 and the events of the Maidan in 2014 and the overthrow of the Ukraine government, which installed a neo-Nazi government which is still in power. All right, so the forces that got together by the request of the Kazakh president, and yes, in case that sounds familiar, yes, Kazakhstan gets its name from Cossack. Yes, Cossack. Think Russian forces. All right? The Russian warriors, the Cossacks. All right, so anyway, the governments and countries that are signatories to this joint security agreement are Russia, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. I'm sorry, it may be only one of those two. But these countries all have an interest in keeping terrorist activity down in Kazakhstan because that terrorist activity could very well easily spread to their own countries. Could also spread into China. So China is not a signatory to that agreement, but I'm sure if they were asked, they would have also sent forces to help bring this under control. But they were not asked, so they did not take part in this. All right, anyway, so it's very obvious that the U.S. government, as adversarial as our government is to Russia and China, that they would have a great interest in trying to install an adversarial and belligerent government in Kazakhstan. There's something else to also note here, which is that China is also expanding the Belt and Road Initiative through Kazakhstan. Now, Kazakhstan is also the 9th largest exporter of oil in the world. And they also produce a lot of natural gas, and they have been proposing building a natural gas pipeline from Kazakhstan to Europe. So there is another issue that you need to take into account. If the Belt and Road Initiative were completed and goes through Kazakhstan, well, that would be a huge, huge trade competition with the United States, because the Belt and Road goes all the way over to Europe. And if if Kazakhstan completed a natural gas pipeline. Russia already has natural gas flowing to Europe. Kazakhstan completes an oil gas pipeline to Europe. What does that do to American natural gas exports to Europe? So these are all issues that are very important to our government because of the impact it would have on corporate profits in America. So anyway, things have calmed down because of this joint security agreement. There's been no mass. If America got involved here, look at what has happened in other countries. They have put down this uprising without mass violence. No cities have been destroyed. No bombs have been dropped. There is no martial law imposed. Most of what the external countries that have gotten involved are doing are to protect government and military installations in the country, leaving the Kazakh police to handle the domestic uprising. It's not a matter of these other countries coming in with their military and putting down the population. That's not what is happening. Whereas if the U.S. military got involved, what do you think would be happening? You would be having drone strikes. You would see civilian casualties by the tens of thousands going on right this minute if our government got involved. But the Kazakh government said, no, we don't want your assistance. We don't want your help. We'll turn to our existing allies. So they have actively rejected any American assistance in this case. So, and by the way, the current president there replaced a former president who was very authoritarian, dictatorial. He was brutal. So this president is not like that. It's obvious that he has to have a strong hand with what is going on. But for years now, Kazakhstan has been seeing an immense building up of industry, and their people have been benefiting from this. So they have, things in place that are far better than what we've got, and it is a very still mostly rural country, but they are industrializing at this point. You look up some images from Kazakhstan and their cities and their industry, and you can see just how much they have built up in just a few years. So, yeah, they still have good relations with Russia. They have good trade relations with China and with other former Soviet bloc countries. So our assistance is not wanted there. All right. I hope this explains a bit of what has been going on there. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.